we go. Okay. Welcome to episode 188 of Auto Off Topic. How are you, Brad?
I'm excellent, Andrew. How are you doing today?
I'm great.
Wow.
Before I was coming on here, I was just playing with. I went from complaining about how much a wheel setup costs for an Xbox to just buying one. So,
Sounds about right.
yep. I was
American consumerism at its finest at the $1,200 check mark.
doing my part.
Yes.
And I was setting it up. I got like a stand for it, and I had an old set of Corbeaus just hanging around that we were going to do stuff with, but right now they're not being used, so I'm going to use them for that.
Yep.
I had to get a slider set up for the seat base because, of course, it's like universal seat base fits all sorts of racing seats. You're like, okay, cool. I put it on there. Totally didn't line up with the Corbeau bolt pattern. So, plus I had no way to
that's what
like
kills
make it
me
slide. Yeah,
about anything universal like that. It's like they're all different. How can it be universal?
exactly.
It would need to be like Swiss cheese to make it universal. Have like 1,000 bolt holes in it.
No, it would have fit, but I would have had to figure out. I would have measured perfectly the 4 bolt holes that match the bottom of the seat, and it's a specific a specific Corbeau pattern, I guess. And I'd have to match it, and I have to drill it. It was pretty thick steel, and I was like, I also didn't have any sliders. I was like, that kind of stinks because then when you go to sit in it, if you're like too far away, you really can't adjust it. So I bought a universal Corbeau seat base and slider, which
Okay.
apparently it's for like 914 Porsches, but they made it into their universal one. So it's
Yeah,
like
because
a completely,
they're pretty much a
yeah,
flat
flat.
floor. So
Yeah, it's a complete flat bracket, but the bolt holes are set wider than the slider bracket bolts. So it lines up enough. I did get the measurements off it. I made sure it would line up with the bolt holes. And I got bolts that were, instead of using like 10 mil bolts, because that's how big the holes are, I got 8 mil. So it gave me a little play. And that lined up. But what I didn't consider was the way the sliders are bolted to the bracket. Their bolts for those come down and hit the crossbar on the seat base. So it wouldn't sit flat. So
okay.
I was like, I ended up having to actually drill 2 holes. But I only had a 1/4 inch drill bit. I needed one just slightly larger than 1/4 inch. So I had to use like undersized bolts for now to hold the front of the sliders than the nice heavier ones. But it seems pretty solid. And it actually looks pretty good. It sits at a good height. You're not like totally on the floor. The only thing, like, because it's like one of those cheap like Chinese seat bases, is kind of missing some of the well, it came with a bunch of bolts, but not. You really needed to use all the long ones and none of the short ones. You know, like one of those, like when you're putting bolts through tubes and like the bolt doesn't go all the way through the tube. That's how it's held together.
Okay.
And like, so I got to get some longer ones. And then I need to get machine screws to hold the pedals to the foot plate. Because otherwise I just have a giant zip tie, like an industrial size zip tie.
I mean,
Because they slide around.
machine screws and zip ties are generally how a lot of people work on their cars anyway. So we'll just let it slide. It's not a real car, so you can half-ass it. It's fine.
Well, I should say when I say machine screws, I mean like not like a self-tapping screw. I mean like a machine thread
Okay, so
bolt.
proper.
Yeah, it's cool because the Logitech wheel on the backside of the, I don't think the steering wheel setup has it. On the backside of the shifter and on the backside of the foot pedal assembly, it's got threaded nuts embedded in it. So you can, or threaded inserts, I should call them. And
Okay,
you can run machine screws through those, and there are proper holes that it was set up, like universal holes at least on this thing, the stand. They'll go through it and bolt, which is kind of cool.
so the stand is a stand you bought. It's not something you built.
Yeah, I bought it because it would just be easier than building it.
Yeah.
It wasn't terribly expensive. I mean, really, if I didn't already own the seat, I probably should have bought one of those play seat setups, but whatever. This was maybe not that much cheaper, but a little bit cheaper.
Every dollar counts.
And then I was trying it, and you really got to go through all the settings. I kind of set it up in dirt. It's hard. It's even harder.
It's harder with the steering wheel than with the controller?
Yes.
Oh, good. Well, I can't finish with a controller, so...
Maybe you get used to it and you can make smaller adjustments. I don't know. It's definitely a different learning curve. So I tried Forza real quick before we got together for this. I'm going to have to do all the settings for that because it's like I picked one of our easier cars that we drive all the time, and it's like super easy to drive, that the Spec Miata we use.
Mm-hmm.
And like going down the front straight at Lime Rock, just like turning the wheel slightly and I'm like spinning off into the tire wall. Okay.
Interesting. So it's too sensitive, probably.
There's definitely some settings that you go on YouTube and people will tell you how to set up. It is cool though that I remember the old wheel we had for Gran Turismo, or the one I had, the gas pedal and the brake pedal pretty much felt the same. Like, I don't remember there being a big difference. This one, the brake pedal is actually really hard to press like an actual brake pedal would be.
Okay. Yeah, I remember the old one was just kind of floppy like the gas pedal was.
Yeah, so the gas pedal feels like a throttle pedal. Brake pedal has resistance, and the clutch pedal feels like the way a clutch pedal should feel. And that is definitely strange, trying to drive a clutch without feeling the vibration.
Yeah, I don't know if I could
through the car.
I don't know if I could do that.
I was messing around with it and like stalled a couple times, but then you kind of got it. It's weird.
Does the car actually stall?
What's that? Yeah, the car in dirt, the car will stall. It's boom, 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 and then you gotta put it neutral or push the clutch in, and you hit the throttle, and it starts the car back up. And it like takes a while to start sometimes. You're like, okay, this is accurate.
Especially the older carbureted cars.
Yeah.
Well, I know the cars do stall in the game because I crashed them enough to the point where if you slow down too much, they stop running and have to restart. But I didn't know you could stall it with the clutch if you tried to use the clutch.
Yeah.
That's pretty intense.
So it's interesting. It's definitely I got to practice with it some more, but that should be pretty fun. And then talking about brake, that reminds me, we have pedantic corrections. My dad sent us a message that is on the Mercedes.
Oh yeah,
we're calling it air brake, is a speed brake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is funny because any brake I would consider a speed brake.
I guess that's what they're called in airplanes, is a speed brake.
No, that's neat. That's cool. There's an actual term for it other than air brake because I assumed it was air brake. I mean, I learned that from Bugs Bunny, obviously. Remember the Looney Tunes when he'd like be in an airplane and be crashing and they almost in the ground and he'd be like, "Oh, the air brakes," and they would stop midair. You don't remember that?
I do.
Okay, good.
No, I remember it.
But that's why I called it an air brake, because that's, you learn that in your formative years watching Bugs Bunny, and then
I know.
30 something years later, 35, 6, 7 years later, when you're trying to explain what kind of brake it is, my brain went right back to Bugs Bunny, air brake.
That's right.
But not
so
speed brake.
Anything else? You haven't done anything with you've done any scale project cars or just
yeah, I finished that Nissan I was talking about, Datsun pickup. So I've finished the first model in years, so that's good. It was
cool.
It was halfway done already, and when I took it out of the box, so I was like, I'll start with this because it's a partway finished project. And much like with my real car life that I'm trying to do now, where I don't just stop doing projects, I want to continue them and finish them. I said, this car's half done. I'm going to take it out. I'll figure out whatever reason I stopped working on it, and I'll fix that first, and then I'll move on. Well, this particular kit is a Revell kit of the Datsun. It just says Datsun off-road pickup. It's just whatever the Datsun truck was called at the time, a 720, I think. Is it 720, the 80s one? I think so. But it has these molded on like fender flares that look like they'd be black plastic, and it came with decals to simulate the black finish on them. And I put them on the truck years ago when I started working on it, and the decals were undersized. So it showed a lot of the body color red around the decal where the molded part was. So it just looked dumb, and I got frustrated, and I put it away. So when I took it out, I was like, all right, I got to finish these decals. So I was trying to figure a way to get them off. The first one I used sandpaper, which obviously made a big mess. And then I was like, I wonder if there's a way that I could release these old water slide decals without damaging the paint underneath.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, so there is. Acetone, or more commonly in most households, nail polish remover. Put it on a Q-tip and just start rubbing it on the decal. And if you get an edge that goes underneath, it starts lifting, and it's almost like polishes away. So I was able to take off the decals without damaging the paint on the body of the truck. So then I used some Tamiya masking tape, the fine line masking tape, masked them off, masked the rest of the truck off, and sprayed them with a semi-gloss black instead of using the decal. So the whole thing would be covered versus just what the decal shape covered. And it came out perfect. So I was like, all right, now I can finish this thing. So I managed to finish it, and it was made me feel accomplished for sure, because I haven't finished a model in quite a long time.
I've used Microsol to soften decals that are old and get them to be removed.
That's what I tried first, and it wouldn't work. Yeah, I used Microsol. Oh, nope, I have Microset, not Microsol.
Yeah, Microset is like adhesive for a decal, especially for like small ones. Microsol makes them super soft,
right,
and go around curves. And actually, I think that's the one that kind of smells like vinegar. It's weird.
They do smell like vinegar. Yeah, both of them do, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, the acetone worked. It's not, super friendly for your hands and skin and whatnot, but it worked for what it was supposed to do. It took them right off, and I was able to paint them and complete the kit. And I said last week I'd take pictures of it, and I fully intended to, but I haven't done that yet. So that's all done. And I pulled out a second kit. So it's good. Building is fun.
Well, speaking of decal removal, this reminds me, real project car updates. Can't do much because my other cars are in storage at my dad's house because I'm doing some work on the house and using the garage as a staging area. But I've got the Montero here, so I ordered one of those decal whizzer wheels.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a rubber eraser wheel you put in a drill, because it's kind of hard if you don't realize what you're looking at. The bottom from the fender to the rear doors on a second-gen Montero on the two-tone part is actually a decal. It's not a textured piece of plastic. Like, the decal is made to mimic the mold lines on the bumper ends, but it's not. And actually, funny, the rear quarter behind the rear wheel, the sheet metal is stamped with those indentations. I don't know.
Well, the reason for it is that the doors were the same from the first second gen to the last second gen.
Actually, the rear doors are not, because they get wide.
Oh, right, that's true. But the front doors are the same. Doors, yeah. So in order to save on stamping and stuff, they probably went ahead and just kept that front door stamping the same, so they didn't have to engineer a new panel for the front door. And in order to make it work into the back door had to be designed flat as well. And then to integrate that design, they just had this like gradient lines just to kind of fade away, so that it tricked your eye into thinking it was a ribbed plastic piece on like a trim panel on the door. So it's probably because they wanted to save money in the first place.
So after 25 years, they look pretty crappy being out in the sun. So I was going to take them off. So I started with the right rear door, and it did not go well. Like, it kind of melted. Like, I was trying to move it around. A lot of the rubber built up. It kind of burned through the paint to the primer layer, which kind of stinks, and left big chunks of rubber behind. I was super annoyed. Everybody on the internet's like, I don't know, it's usually pretty easy. You just kind of move it around. It makes a bunch of dust.
Yeah, and I've done it myself, and it's always been really easy. I've never seen an issue with it before.
So I was like, whatever. A couple days went by. I was like, let me try the front fender, see if it's different. Front fender came off. A couple tries, like a couple passes with a rubber eraser wheel. I didn't have any acetone or like rubbing, like denatured alcohol or anything, so I just used gasoline that I had laying around. to get the remainder of the glue off. And it looks nearly perfect. So it's one of those things where I'm just gonna, if it's a nice day, I'll just go do like a section, and I'll just, because it's kind of annoying to do for like, I don't want to do it all in one shot because it's super annoying. So like I'll just go out and do it for like a half hour, and then just keep going around the truck. Because the eventual plan is there is tinted color bed liner that you can buy by the quart or by the gallon. And there's a basic silver color that looks pretty close to that silver. And I'm just going to mask it and roll it and do that bottom half of the truck in silver gravel guard. And I'll go right around and do the bumper ends too. And I think that'll look pretty cool because the bumper ends are like all chewed up from the sun and they've got some scuffs on them. So
yeah, no, it'll freshen the whole truck up. It'll be nice.
Yeah. And it's funny because there's actually like in the gallery on the website for this place, I was looking through it and like I clicked into it because I was like, wait a minute, I recognize that shape. So some guy has a white Delica and he did the bottom half of his white Delica in white gravel guard.
Okay.
Right over the bumpers too. It looked super cool. So
nice. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll look good. I mean, it's not, you usually have pretty good.
You should be able to like roll it on like a 2-inch foam roller. Should be all right.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'll have to look into it. But because the way, for me, my opinion is if you do black gravel guard in the bottom of your vehicle, it tells me the thing's rusty.
That's the New England way of thinking, yeah.
So like, I don't think, to me, it doesn't look good. It looks like you have a rusty vehicle and you're trying to cover it up. So this way, at least if it's a body color, it looks intentional and cool.
It doesn't look lazy. I think the other thing is that the black gravel guard in the bottom a lot of times looks lazy because it's not finished properly because it is hiding rust. So exactly. I think that if you do it correctly and you're actually not hiding rust, you're trying to make the truck look better, not just trying to get an inspection sticker, everything will be fine. So I think it'll look good. I'm encouraged. Just don't go ahead and bedliner the whole truck. That's terrible.
No. I got to figure out what to do with the top of it because the clear coat's peeling. Maybe put some do some vinyl things or something, or I don't know. I've seen a couple of people do white roofs. Looks kind of cool in the tan, but we'll see.
And it helps.
Just trying to make it look slightly better.
Yeah, more respectable.
Yeah, and I don't want to spend all the money on painting the truck. It's not worth painting because if you spend a bunch of money and you paint the truck and it looks super nice, then you'll never ever, not that I go off road very often, I would never ever want to go off road again if I spent $3,000 on painting the truck.
Right.
If
you spent $3,000 on painting the truck, that would be a deal, and it probably wouldn't look good anyway.
Okay. Yeah, that's the other thing.
So
it doesn't cost $3,000; it costs more than that.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you spent that much on painting a vehicle, you're never going to want to drive it or go off road with it again because as soon as you scratch it, it's like dollar signs and anger in your eyes. So
yeah, that money is better spent elsewhere. I'd rather see you put money into the actual vehicle itself versus just a paint job on a vehicle like that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of going on drives and stuff, gas prices are officially super low. Like, oh, excuse me.
Wow, classy, Andrew.
Yeah, I was driving. I was drinking seltzer water here. I got some classic Polar Blueberry Lemonade. Yeah, near my house, I've got a couple gas stations. $1.87, which is like insane, right?
It is insane. I'm still paying $2.80 out here.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess because it's like, I remember reading about this like a while ago, and maybe we even talked about this on our gas station episode. I don't remember, but the further you get from the supply area, the more expensive it is, which makes sense.
It just makes sense. It costs more to get it there.
So we're very close to the port, and it comes into Boston, so it's very cheap.
There are places in town outside of where I live that I guess are less money by about 50 cents. A lot of that has to do with where I am and where I live is it's very like metropolitan. It's the city. I'm downtown. Like I'm not rural at all. So
that, and I think too, as a gas station owner, you've purchased your, whatever it is, 10,000 gallons of gas, into your tanks. Like, you paid for it at X dollars. Like, you can't now adjust your price to lower than what you've purchased it for. So probably as you work through that supply, the price must drop too, I bet.
Well, if that was the case, then I would think that the rural stations would be more expensive than the stations in the city because they get less business. Like the station around the corner from here is one of the busiest gas stations that I've possibly ever been to. Like you're always waiting for a pump, and there's 25 pumps. So
Well, then that comes to the other weird thing. Like, people are just used to paying what they pay for it, so you just leave it, and you
and
make
that
more money,
and
right?
part of the reason here is again where I am in town. Their rent on their land or their building is worth 6 times what a rural one is. The real estate prices out here are so pocketed depending on where you are, and when you're downtown with big the skyscrapers and hotels and restaurants and all those kinds of things, the rent is gonna be more expensive, so that's gonna factor into the price of the gas probably too. So I'm sure there's a few things going on, but unfortunately there's nothing close enough to make it worth my while to drive a little further to get cheaper gas. So nothing really going anywhere anyway, but we just did, like I said, we've been doing, the 1 day a week drive to nowhere and drive back. So we have been getting then.
Well, the national average is $1.80.
That's
and
amazing.
that's the lowest since 2004.
Yeah.
And I remember that. I remember it was like such a big thing when we were talking about gas going over $2.
Yeah.
Like, that was a huge deal.
Yep.
And here we are.
Yeah, back under 2 and happy.
So, speaking of things that are also kind of crazy, the take rate of manuals is like, for new car sales, is at like an all-time low. So,
well, it goes down every year, it seems.
Yeah. There's like, according to an article in The Drive, there's only manual transmissions are only available on 1 in 8 new U.S. car models, which is kind of insane. Like, I'm trying to think of, like, it's probably, we've talked about where Volkswagen does manuals.
Yep.
Subaru has manuals. There's probably not much else.
Mazda.
Porsche, Mazda.
I think Civic's still available manual. Corolla is still available manual.
The article talks about how the Z06 was offered in a manual only until 2015 when the automatic came out, and all of a sudden people flocked to the automatic. Like, the sales like exploded for the Z06 because it was now an automatic.
That's because people are lame.
And that's why the new C8 is auto. That's because they just sell more.
Yeah, that's why they're all auto now, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. The manual take rate on the Z06 accounted for just 15% of sales since the introduction of the automatic, and that is in the C7 Corvette.
It's gross. I don't understand it all. I think the problem is a lot of people that are buying cars like that buy them based on magazine numbers.
That's true, probably.
They don't have anything other than to say, my car is faster than your car. Whether it has anything to do with driving, enjoyment or not, because I don't think a lot of people that buy those cars drive them the way they're supposed to be driven. They get driven to and from, the local car show, and that's it.
Yeah, and they're talking about electrification is catching up, so that's why manuals are going away. There is some glimmer of hope where, stalwarts like, Porsche does make manuals because people that buy Porsche was like, hey, we just want manuals, please. Like,
yep.
Some people just don't like care. Like, yes, the PDK twin clutch, whatever thing it is, puts down X 0 to 60 time. That's like insane, super cool. But if I want to go drive on the back roads and in the canyons or whatever, I don't care about 0 to 60 times. I just want to row my own gears. Like,
yeah, exactly.
So
you're not drag racing every time you get in the car, so it doesn't matter.
So at least, enthusiast kind of based car companies like that still do it, even though Porsches are insanely expensive. But it doesn't matter because you got to figure there's so many cars that have been built with manuals. They still exist. They're
Yeah,
used.
I mean, even if we don't ever, even if they 100% go away in brand new cars, we'll still be able to enjoy our old cars with manuals for our entire lifetime anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm not terribly worried about it.
No.
I had something else to say about that, but I forget. But it is what it is.
We were going to talk about the new Mazda 6.
Yeah. When we originally started talking about manual transmissions, I was thinking to the fact that Mazda is one of those companies that does a lot of stuff with manual transmissions. And they just announced that they're coming out with a new Mazda 6. Nothing's been said about the transmission in it yet, but I can only hope that it will include an old style manual transmission. But there is a hybrid power plant in it, so I don't know if they can do that or not. I'm sure they can. But the exciting thing is that Mazda, again, we don't normally talk about new cars, but this is kind of like an old car tech kind of thing. They're doing a rear-wheel drive sedan again.
Really?
Yeah. So the new Mazda 6 is going to be an inline six rear-wheel drive with an all-new inline six that's never been produced before. So that is a bonus point for thinking about good things in the future as far as cars go. They're spending the money to develop a brand new fossil fuel powered engine. So that's pretty neat. They're looking at making it a little more upmarket, I think. I think it's probably going to be to compete with the cars like the Genesis G80 and the Hyundai, or the Kia Stinger, I should say.
I was going to say, they're probably going after the Genesis Kia market.
Yeah.
Entry-level 3 Series.
Yeah,
probably.
Cheaper luxury German car. Like people who, don't want to buy a C-Class because the cheap Mercedes would probably buy a nice Mazda versus a cheap Mercedes.
Yeah, and the fancier interiors of the Mazdas, like the upmarket models, they're pretty nice.
Oh, they're real nice. Even the lower end ones now are pretty nice. The new Mazda 3 has got a great interior. I mean, the leather's nice. The door panels feel nice. It doesn't feel cheap at all. That new Mazda 3 is kind of ugly, but other than that, it's neat. Hopefully this won't be ugly, but...
Yeah, that's the problem. It was too ugly for me to even look at it.
Yeah, that quarter panel is something else.
Yeah.
The rest of the car is great, but that quarter panel on that car just ruins the whole car. Mm-hmm. So this is going to have a inline six. They haven't talked about the size of the inline six yet, I don't think, or I haven't found anything about it yet. On top of a 48-volt hybrid system, which I don't know what that means, but
it's a pretty standard of the new stuff of hybrid systems, but that's pretty cool.
So anyway, they're talking between 350 and 400 horse. I don't know if that means with hybrid or without hybrid, because the specs aren't out yet. It's all just kind of speculation at this point. But they're developing it in conjunction with Toyota, I guess. So Toyota is not...
It'll have a BMW 6-cylinder?
Yeah, no, it's all new 6-cylinder. That's the thing. I think that Toyota...
All new BMW 6-cylinder for Mazda.
I think that Toyota doesn't want to use the 6-cylinder from BMW as long, for the Supra forever. I think this is kind of a way to get rid of the BMW DNA in their sports cars in the future.
Well, you'd have to get rid of the whole chassis, but
hey, maybe they will. So there's talk about using the same Mazda 6-cylinder in at least the new upcoming IS and RC Lexus vehicles. So it could be interesting. I'm not sure exactly what's gonna happen, but Toyota's throwing money at Mazda to do this, so that's an interesting industry thing. They're not so much as co-developing it as co-funding it.
I hadn't heard about that. So that's cool.
Mazda's kind of a niche car maker. You know what I mean? They're not a huge player. They sell enough cars to get by, but they're not Honda or Toyota. So I think that'd be neat to see Toyota money spent with Mazda's, more enthusiast-based DNA, whereas Toyota is at the moment, just a volume seller. Pump out as many Corollas and Camrys as we can, develop a sports car with BMW, but we have the money to do something we want to do, but somebody upstairs won't let us do it, so let's have Mazda do it and then reap the rewards.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see a new inline six cylinder. There hasn't been a new inline, like all new inline six for a while.
That's cool.
And it's positive news because everybody else, talks about the end of the internal combustion engine, and Mazda's theory is we haven't reached maximum development yet. There's still a lot more to go.
No.
So they're hedging their bets on a different future than some other companies are. So we'll see what happens. But I'm excited about it, and Mazda's in general, since at least for as long as they've sold them in this country, have always had kind of a sporty edge to them. They haven't been the boring, luxury sedan or boring economy sedan that everybody else has made. They've always had a little more of a sporting edge. Most of their smaller cars have always been used in competition, and there's always a little bit more to them, I think, than the other companies. So I'm excited about it. I'll probably never buy one. I'll probably never even think about buying one, but it's neat to talk about it. It's gonna be like a 2022 car, I guess. So we'll see what happens.
Cool. All right. So speaking of old cars you would maybe buy, we've got some Craig Don't Tell Me's, because we haven't done that in a while.
I would buy all of them.
So who wants to go first?
Well, there's only two of us, so I'll go first.
Okay.
All right. I went to the local Craigslist here in Phoenix. Let's see.
Yeah, by the way, that $5 thing on Craigslist for cars doesn't seem to have hurt it.
No, it hasn't hurt it at all. I haven't advertised my car on Craigslist yet, that Saab that I have for sale. Because Facebook Marketplace.
$5 too rich for my drugs.
Well, too rich for your drugs?
Yeah, too rich for my drugs.
You buy drugs cheaper than $5?
Yeah.
Problem is, Facebook Marketplace is not obviously the place to sell that car. I've had almost 100 people contact me on it. And
hi, is this still available?
I'm talking like actual conversations with people, and only one person ever went and looked at it, and they didn't buy it because it wasn't a 5-speed, which clearly it states in the ad. But anyway, I wanted to put it on Craigslist, but I also, at this time of, they were living in the coronavirus world, I don't want to have a massive amount of people going to my father's house to look at the car. So unfortunately now it's just sitting there. I'm going to wait for this kind of the global pandemic to end before I can sell my car. So it is what it is. So I have not used the $5 Craigslist ad yet, but I will as soon as the air is clear, so to speak, I guess. All right, first car. It is a... Do we go with years? Do I tell you years? I don't remember.
No.
No years? All right.
Nope.
High performance. 408 cubic inch small block V8. 4-speed manual transmission. 8 3/4 rear end. Power steering. Rally wheels. Strong runner. Exterior. Good body. Nice yellow paint. 14-inch steel rally wheels. Nice looking black interior. Presents well. Tough with 2 Fs steering wheel. Pistol grip shifter. Mechanical. 408 cubic inch. High performance build with receipts. 4-speed manual. Power steering. 8 3/4. Engine is stout. Makes good power. Car drives well. All VIN tags in place.
That sounds pretty cool. All right.
There's a lot of, if you knew these cars, you would already know what the car was. Or within the family. A few clues here.
Well, I'm definitely the cubic inches. 408 is a weird number.
It's a very weird number. I can tell you that's not a stock number. This is
Okay.
a stroked engine.
Okay. Pontiac?
Negative.
All right.
So
GM, though.
here's the words you're looking for. 8 3/4 rear end. Pistol grip shifter. And tough
All right.
wheel.
Chrysler product?
It is a Chrysler product, yep.
All right. The pistol grip is what? The Barracuda?
It is not a Barracuda. By this year, the Barracuda would have been based on a different body style, but in the earlier years, a Barracuda would have been the same underpinnings as this car.
So it's a Charger.
Nope.
Challenger?
So in the later years, the Barracuda became a big car, but earlier on, it would have been a smaller car. So this is a later year car, so it's the smaller version of a car.
Dart?
It is a Dart, yes. It is a 72 Dart Swinger.
Oh, all right.
It's a 360 that's been stroked to 408. So
Whoa.
when the Barracuda first came out, it was based on like a Valiant Dart platform. But by this year, 72, the Barracuda was a bigger car. It was the same as like the Challenger, and that body style. I'm not really good with the exact names of the body styles. I know GM stuff better. I think the Dart in 72 is an A body, and the Barracuda Challenger are a B body, but I'm not 100% positive. So I know that it did grow to a bigger car by this point. So yes, the first car is a 72 Dodge Dart. It's a really nice car with that 360 supposedly punched out, but it looks stock other than like chrome valve covers and air cleaner. It's 15 grand with a 4-speed, and it looks well worth the money. I would definitely drive this car. It's a good way to get into that era of a muscle car without spending $65,000. So
it's a good price.
Yeah, the tough wheel is Chrysler's like rally wheel at the time. It's like a foam.
Oh.
It's a 3-spoke with a big horn pad. It's a neat looking steering wheel. It's like a sport steering wheel.
Huh.
But anyway, that's number one.
Like an old NASCAR style steering wheel?
Kind of. It kind of has like, it looks like a higher quality like Grant GT.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a neat car. It's a bench seat 4-speed. I dig it. It's got a cool little hood scoop, which wouldn't be factory, but I dig it. It's a cool car. I like Darts a lot. They're always been on my radar as like a daily driver kind of car, especially a pre-73 with the small bumpers. And all the Darts of this body style have this like weird, like curved back window that's just really neat looking. All right, your turn.
All right. This one's pretty vague, but I think you'll get it.
Oh, good.
Original, spelt ORG, 301 engine and TH 350 transmission.
Okay, it's Pontiac.
Yep. Car's good for restoring, needs TLC, no tire kickers or low ballers. This is not a new car. Don't expect pristine condition. And yes, it does start.
That's it?
That's it.
So it's a 301?
Yep.
So it's a pre-smog era Pontiac? So like a pre-74, 73?
Nope.
It's later than that?
It's later.
So that's a Grand Prix.
Nope.
70s Pontiac, right?
It's It's based on a 70s Pontiac.
Oh, so it's like an 81 Trans Am?
Judges, yeah, we'll give it to you. It's an 80 Trans Am.
All right. Yeah, 301.
Yeah, it might as well be a 70s car.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty 70s.
I got to send you pictures of this one because you can definitely tell from the photos that it is not pristine or a new car.
Yes.
So it's like so obvious. But
you knew right away.
Yeah. And it's got no rear quarters are rotten out. And
You must be in the New England Craigslist then.
I went to the Jersey Shore Craigslist.
Okay, so yeah, New England South. It's fine. All right, I got another one here for you. Let's see. I got a couple good ones here. What's this one here? All right, ready?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you the price of this car up front. It is $1,000.
Buy it.
I would. 2.2 liter diesel engine, 4-speed manual transmission, 160,000 miles. It's been sitting for 12 years. However, 9 months ago it was started and it did run. Clean title. 1 flat tire, The rest all dry rotted. Parts are very sought after. I've included pictures of additional parts with prices that they normally cost. Car is 100% complete, but in very poor condition. Needs 100% restoration. If you want it to run, bring your own battery and some starting fluid. Otherwise, there is no battery. I'm selling the whole car for $1,000, non-negotiable. You must tow at your expense. Once again, non-negotiable. Rear-wheel drive, 4-speed, 2.2 diesel, sedan. Ooh, too much information.
Oof. That's tough.
It's not really. That exists as one vehicle sold in this country, probably.
Is it Mercedes diesel?
It is a Mercedes diesel, yes.
Yeah.
It is a 73 220 diesel, which is a W115, I think.
2.2, 220. Okay.
Yep. But it's really neat because it's a manual transmission. Still slow as could be. But it has a factory Becker radio, which is really neat. Which is like the classic one that used to come in Porsches and stuff in the 50s and 60s and early 70s. So that the radio alone is probably worth the asking price of the car. So it's a really neat car, and it's not that bad. It's a typical. I'm out here in Arizona now, so everything is junk, according to the description. But then you look at it, and it's like I would drive that as is.
Oh, it's like it's Arizona bad.
It's Arizona junk. The body is pin straight without a single spot of rust. All the trim is intact. All the moldings are intact. The bumpers are perfect. It's a 73.
But the interior and paint is like roasted off.
The paint isn't even that bad. The clear coat is peeled on the roof. The interior is complete. There's no giant holes in the seats. They're all cracked at the seams. And even the dash is respectable as is. Like, this is not a parts car. This is a car you just go and buy and throw some tires on it and drive it. Just put some seat covers on it and call it a day. Because it's not junk by any means. If this was a few months from now and I had a garage where I could work out of at my house, I would probably be on my way to buy this car to clean it up and send it back east and hopefully make a couple bucks on it out there. But it's not a bad car. It makes me upset to see it advertised as a parts car. But whatever. What do I know? Not a whole hell of a lot, right? All right. You got one more for me?
Yeah, I got one or two.
All right, good.
Let's see. I am selling a blank 4-door hardtop. It has a 312 V8 with automatic tranny. The floor and frame are great. It does need rear quarters, but I have the patch panels in the car.
53 Ford Crown Victoria.
It's a very limited production car. You're so close.
It's a 4-door? So it's a 53 Ford Crestline.
Nope.
Am I in the right body style?
I think so. You got to go up market, though.
So it's a 53. Am I the right year?
No.
Okay, so up or down?
Go up.
So it's a 54 Lincoln Continental. Nope, not a Continental. It would be a Lincoln Premier or something.
Nope.
Oh. Well, I don't have enough info to go on from this point. Automatic, I assume. 4-door.
It is.
It's a Ford. It's a 312. That gives it away immediately.
Yep.
But it's a 4-door. It's not as upmarket as Lincoln, so it's a Mercury.
That's right.
But I don't know the model of the Mercury from that era. So it's a 54 or a 55 Mercury Zephyr?
No, I've never even seen one of these. It's a 56 Mercury Phaeton.
Oh, a Phaeton?
Yeah.
I don't think I'm familiar with that.
I'm not sure I've ever seen one.
That doesn't... Like Phaeton, like PH?
Yeah.
It does come up if you Google it, so it must be a thing. Oh, it must just be a trim level on the Mercury.
I don't know.
I love that body style Ford and Mercury, that era. And the 312 gave it away immediately. But yeah, that's cool. I'd definitely drive that. How much is that one?
I sent you the ad. I forget. I just clicked out of it.
Oh, it's cool. I dig it. So, wood drive. I didn't get the ad. But that's okay. I'll see you later. All right, one more for you.
All right.
Blank, blank, blank. Lifted, not 4x4. This super cool blank is the perfect blank canvas for a project. If you've ever dreamed of living in your vehicle or
Uh-huh.
just wanted a unique weekend toy, this is the blank for you. Powered by a small block blank engine with an aftermarket intake carb MSD ignition, it makes lots of power and sounds great. Plus, the motor is super easy to get to. The easiest thing I've ever worked on. It is lifted, but it is not four-wheel drive. I'm getting rid of it because I am moving and do not want to take it with me. It has been sitting for 20 years and needs some love. But it starts, runs, and drives. I'll continue to work on it until it is sold. Price will be adjusted to fit any of the work that goes into it. This van could be so cool, I'd love it to go to someone who would appreciate it. Please text me for more information.
All right. Well, I think you gave it away there. It's
I realized I said it in the very
a
end. I
van.
was super mad at myself. Yes. The
Uh,
whole entire time I said blank, and now I said van.
I don't know. 78 GMC Duravan.
It's
Enduravan.
a 318 small block if you want to know that.
Oh, so it's like a Dodge van.
Yeah, it's an 81 Dodge van. I'm super angry that I said van in the end there.
I hate those things so much.
This one's cool though. Anyway, I don't know if anybody listening has ever driven a 80s through 90s Dodge van, but
Terrible.
you need to have one leg to drive them.
Yeah, it's horrible.
There's literally zero place for your left leg to go. There's a giant wheel well that's where your foot would go. It's super uncomfortable. I would, however, drive a 90s one if it was done up like the Dajiban style,
Mhm.
but I wouldn't drive it very far because it's super uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe you could make it work somehow, but I'm not quite sure how. To put some kind of like place to rest your leg somewhere. But anyway, you find any more, Andrew, or is that it for today?
I got one more and then an honorable mention that
Okay.
I can read. So I'm selling a blank two-door. It's all steel with a Mustang 2 front end with disc brakes, no motor or trans. It has suicide doors. The frame has been painted green, came from Georgia.
33 Ford.
Man, so good.
So
34 Victoria.
I pictured the ads from like Street Runner magazine in the 90s selling those things. And Suicide Doors kind of gave it away. It's probably got a chopped body, full fendered.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, they're pretty neat. Like a ZZ Top car.
Yeah.
All right. I have one more for you, too, then. Just because the ad is a little bit interesting. Looking for the ultimate quarantine machine?
No good.
You found it. A vehicle just as fit for global chaos as it is for cruising to your local watering hole. Not recommended currently. The baddest, raddest, most gnarly vehicle to ever be produced. The blank Q Sound of Thunder. Blank, 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 with a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated engine. The vehicle has a clear Arizona title and currently has 22,509K. It was initially purchased by the Singapore military. A great deal of its time was spent in storage and served the majority of its life there before being imported to the US a few years ago. The vehicle was recently converted to 24 volts, upgraded to LED headlights, received new brakes, brake master cylinder, timing belt, and a kill switch. Solid frame, with no signs of concerning corrosion. Awesome vehicle to cruise around or even hit the desert. Runs well, ready for its next owner.
I don't know. Some sort of personnel carrier.
Nope, you'll be upset if you don't get this one.
Is it one of those off-road Volvos, like military Volvos?
2.5 liter, naturally aspirated diesel engine. Doesn't say diesel, but it is diesel. Right-hand drive.
The Delica?
Used by the Singapore military. Looks like it has seating for I'd say 6, possibly 8.
It's not a Montero, is it?
It is not a Montero, but it would be something that Montero owners say their vehicle is a lot like.
Oh, is it like a Toyota Troopy?
No, you go in the wrong countries.
Oh, is it a G wagon?
No, you're hitting all around it. There's only one left.
Oh,
The,
uh, oh man, what would it be then?
if I
It's
told
not a
you
Mercedes.
they sold them based on a wheelbase, and this is a 110-inch wheelbase,
I don't know. I don't know
and
what
that's
it
what they
is.
call the model of them is a 110.
A 110 what?
It's a Defender.
Oh,
Defender
oh, oh,
110. It's actually
oh,
really cool. It's like a sand beige
oh, that
color.
makes sense. Singapore, yeah.
Yeah, it's got a soft top that goes all the way to the back. It's long wheelbase, but only 2 doors, and it has the personnel style seats that go like lengthways along the sides,
Yeah,
and
that would be really
canvas
cool.
roll down. It's $27,000, which
Oof.
is a bit much, but I don't think it's the baddest, raddest, most gnarly vehicle to ever be produced. Q Sound of Thunder. I thought the whole juxtaposition of Q Sound of Thunder followed by 2.5 liter naturally aspirated engine was kind of funny, but it's certainly it's a thing. So I would totally drive one, just not for 30 grand, especially where it's a very bare bones, literally military spec vehicle for $30,000. But it is cool.
Right.
What's your honorable mention, Andrew?
Um, it wasn't that great. I decided against it.
Okay, never mind.
It was just a crummy ad for a CK pickup truck.
All right, I'll ignore it. Nothing about
It wasn't that great. Wasn't worth it. So on that note, you can always find us on Facebook, Auto Off Topic Podcast, on Instagram, Auto Off Topic. Oh, you know what we didn't even talk about? We'll say it real quick. We did participate in the virtual Radwood
Oh my
over the
goodness.
weekend.
Yeah, very important.
That was super fun. Kind of a little distraction. Everybody posted their cars to Instagram. This is the first Radwood where I had all my cars at.
I didn't even do that. I only had a few of them. What a dummy.
So that was pretty cool. So yeah, that's you can see that on my Instagram, Race and Anger. Follow our podcast Instagram.
Hold on. We did also get to pick our raddest Mitsubishi. And we haven't.
Oh, is that announced?
We haven't announced that yet, but it'll be announced tomorrow. So by the time this goes live, it'll be up.
Okay.
So we had a few to choose from. So there were a few that were honorable mentions. There was Holly Smog owns a flat body Starion with an LS swap.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. There is an Evo conversion here in actually Arizona that started as a Mirage and now it looks like a Tommy Mäkinen Evo 6, which is interesting thing to build, but it's built and it's cool and it's definitely our style. But the person that won our choice was another flat body Starion. And the reason that we picked her over the other flat body was the full participation with accessories as well. So her Instagram name is hanajoy.xo, so HANAJOY.xo. And she has a flat body Starion Technica in two-tone black and silver with a maroon interior, which a Technica Starion means that it has digital gauges and it has the talk box when you open the door. But she went full into the whole Radwood thing. She has a solo cup hanging from the mirror for the pictures. And she put a picture of herself next to the car wearing very 80s appropriate clothes and listening to an OG original Walkman. So I think that combination of radness and rad accessories puts her over the top as our raddest Mitsubishi. It's not the nicest car in the show, but it represents the era the best, I think. So
yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah, so she'll be getting a small package from us and from the boys over at Radwood. So congratulations to her.
Sweet. So, Brad, where can people find you on Instagram?
TSISS350.
Cool. So, as always, keep cars analog and aim for the roses.